welcome to Horror Rewind. This is Kelly Florence,
And I'm Meg Hofdahl.
and today we're talking about ticks. Not the movie, we're just going to talk about wood ticks all hour.
All our experiences whenever we saw a tick or thought about a tick, but not actually the movie.
Oh, God, I just have to say, I've never seen this movie, and I was like, wait a minute, is this literally going to be about like giant wood ticks? Because I don't know if I can handle it. And it was about giant wood ticks, and I hate wood ticks.
So here's a little bit of the backstory. I saw this movie when I was about 13. I moved to Minnesota when I was 12. And I did not know what a tick was basically until I moved to Minnesota. It's not something that's an issue, at least it wasn't in the big city in the Pacific Northwest. That was just not a thing, a tick. And when I found out what a tick was, I was like, that's not okay. I don't like that. And people were just so casual about it. And I'm like, no, why are you casual about this bug that puts its head like under your skin? I still to this day have never had a tick on me.
You better knock on some wood.
I know. I've had one I found one like on my clothes, but not like on my skin, like, buried or anything. But I saw this movie when I was, like I said, about 13, and I actually enjoyed it. So when I saw that it was on Amazon Prime, I was like, oh my God, that movie. I remembered it. Like, there are things about it that stuck in my mind. So
That's funny. I I grew up in Minnesota and have had wood ticks. They're disgusting. Just a little tip: if you ever get a wood tick, you need to remove it with tweezers because if you try to remove it with just your fingers, you could leave the little tentacles or pincers in your skin. So you always need to remove it like officially. And if you have one of those Lyme disease ticks, you should go to the doctor and have them remove it because they can do it with like magnifying glass and stuff. Because yeah, it's serious. They carry disease.
yeah, Luke actually got Lyme disease. He got the target thing from a tick a couple years ago. Thankfully, he realized and caught it really quick and got the meds and everything. But I was freaking out. Again, I think it's like people who would just live their whole life here, their whole life or something. But it's like, oh, it's just a tick. And he was like, oh, it's just, yeah, it's just a Lyme disease tick. Like, it's fine. I'm like, no, it's not fine. To me, it's like a creature that should not exist.
Yucky! Okay, tell us when this movie came out and the facts about it.
So this movie came out in May of 1994, and it went straight to video, so it was never in the theater. It is it was also called Infested, so people might know it from that name. I believe the director Tony Randall did these. Yeah, he did Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. And Children of the Night and a couple other horror movies. What's kind of fun is it's actually starring people that we know. Clint Howard is like who stuck in my mind. I don't know why. I guess because of like what happens in the movie to him. So when I saw that it was Ticks, I like checked to see if it had Clint Howard in it because I was like, okay, that's the movie I remember watching. But it's starring Seth Green. This was like just a couple years after he was in the It TV movie. And it's got Peter Scolari in it, who's like a legitimate actor who you guys might recognize from Girls, the dad in Girls. And then I think my favorite part is that it has Carlton from Fresh Prince, and he's like
He's a bad boy.
he talk about a bad boy. Like when because I didn't remember that part. So when I saw that he was like a bad boy, I literally laughed because it's just he will always be Carlton. So it's so funny.
I know. I literally had to pause it and like make sure that was him. I'm like, wait, is this Carlton being like the bad guy? Like it's so ironic because he is not that person to me.
No, I mean like it just I grew up watching Fresh Prince, and so just seeing him be like grab Seth Green by the collar and stuff and just like threaten to like fuck him up and stuff. It's so funny. So I mean you can say he's definitely not typecast, definitely.
No, and this is I mean I think it's pre Buffy, or it's like right around the time of Buffy. And I love Seth Green in Buffy. So, he was making his rounds at this point. They have this scene, I think it's the two of them, where like somebody has to shoot a basketball. Like, could you shoot a basketball to save your life?
No, this might shock you guys, but I was always last picked in gym class. Luke and I were playing racquetball the other day, which I'm like okay at. I mean, I'm not good. I'm not terrible, but obviously I'm not good. I'm not athletic. But I was saying, like, I said, I think one reason, obviously, I didn't get picked even close to first in gym was like I'm a very tiny person, but I said I think people knew I did not care. Like I did not care about getting a basket. I did not care about who was gonna win in like gym softball. I don't know. How did you fare?
No, I mean, I don't know if I was picked last, but I mean, I also didn't care. We were playing basketball in 8th grade gym class, and I was like, don't pass it to me, don't pass it to me. And the guy passed it to me and broke my finger. So, I couldn't, I don't think I could shoot a basketball to save my life.
No. If you were like, I'll give you $1 million if you get that in there, probably wouldn't happen. I have no athletic acumen. But I don't think you guys listen to this podcast to hear about our athleticism, hopefully, because you'd be very disappointed.
And you know what else they do in this movie, Meg, which we have vowed never to do? There's a
Yeah.
dog death.
And it's bad. It's like really. So I watched this movie on TV. So I don't know. Like as I was watching this time, I'm like, I don't know how many things they kept in for the TV version because this is a rated R movie. But the dog death in it is pretty like upsetting. But I did appreciate that this bad boy, Panic, as he's called, or also known as Carlton, um, that he like loved his dog and he got like really upset about it and stuff. So whenever you see that, you're just like, I like him.
Yeah, we got to know him a little better. And speaking of that too, like Seth Green's character, I don't know any of their character names, I'm sorry. But his backstory and he has PTSD. Like that was really sad. And he got lost. Have you ever been lost? Like legitimately or even for a moment in a store like when you were younger or anything or been lost in the woods?
No, no. My mom was pretty like overprotective. Like I had the parents that were like always there. So that did not happen. I don't remember. I mean, I think we all had that moment or something when we were kids, or maybe like you thought somebody was your mom ahead of you and then she's right here instead or something, and you have that panic. I remember one time my dad and I got lost, and I was so upset. I think I was about 15 or 16, and this was back when, there's no such thing as TiVo. My dad and I got lost walking to Mount Royal grocery store. Like we just like went in some wiggy way, and there was a new show premiering that night called Big Brother, and I wanted to watch it so bad, and so I was like an hour late getting home. So that was my tragedy. But I was with my dad, so it wasn't that scary.
No, I've never had a lost moment either, like when I was a kid or anything. I mean, like you said, like we were in Herberger's, which was a department store, and I thought my mom was there and she wasn't, but she was close by, but never like where you had to call over the intercom to find your parents or something. But God, can you imagine? That's so scary. Or when you don't see your own children, like I think it's scarier as a parent now than like how I ever felt thinking I was lost.
I am a nervous wreck. Like
Oh
when
my God, tell them about the text you got the other day about.
oh, we were together, and I get a text that says from Luke that says your dad and Fox couldn't or they can't find Dexter and Cookie, his dog. And I'm like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." They're calling for him and they can't find him, he said. And he's like, "Oh," and then he was just but then he waited a while for the next text, and then the next text is like, "Oh, laughing face, like he was in our bedroom with his headphones on and he couldn't hear them yelling for him." But like he needed to say that first before he gave me a fucking heart attack.
God.
Yeah. So, anyway, but we've all been there. Like, I know one day, I always watch when Dexter gets off the bus, but like one day I missed it, and then he went around the back, and he was like playing in the backyard, but he'd never done that before, and I was full on like I had the phone in my hand, like I was gonna call the police, because I just assume I like watch that Madeline McCann thing, and I just assume like everyone's gonna human traffic my child. So,
Oh God. Yeah, that's horrific. I I don't even know. I can't even imagine. People like the parents who go on and start these foundations and work to stop all of that stuff. Like I don't think I would ever get my life together.
Well, and like you said, you got to see Jacob Wetterling's mom talk, which I think would be amazing. But I always think about like when your child's gone missing, that first hour, what is going through your mind? And then that first night when your child's not at home, how would you ever sleep again? I don't know. But I did really like how Seth Green's character had that backstory and like he got to kind of I always like characters that have this like weak element to them and then this horrible thing that's going to happen to them, even though it's like you could laugh and be like it's ticks, but it gives him the opportunity to like figure himself out and like get stronger.
Yes, any movie, regardless of the genre, if you can give us some, not necessarily even likable characters, but characters who are fleshed out and have an interesting place in the world, that's going to be more interesting for us to watch and empathize with than like these flat or stereotypical people.
Yeah, and I mean, this movie obviously had that too, but they attempted to have a rape backstory, which was interesting. The one girl said that that was why she was quiet, and I thought it was actually kind of interesting because she just said it outright. It wasn't, she didn't tell the story or whatever. She just said like, well, ever since I was raped, I have been quiet or whatever. So I was like, well, I feel like they're trying to give these people, um, you know, characterizations that are real, and the fact that they're kind of like a group of ragtag kids who maybe aren't like the preppy kids or the perfect kids. I thought it made it a little more interesting than other creature movies.
Yeah, I think so too. The scene at the vet was pretty gross, but it was great.
I think what stuck in my mind about this movie is, oh, I saw something the other day, somebody calling themselves a gore horror. I would definitely consider myself that. And I think that what stuck in my mind was the vet scene and just there's something about the goriness of this movie. It's the practical effects and the squishy sounds and stuff that, I don't know, just stuck with me and that I love.
Now, something that I realized, the first thing I wrote down was like, oh no, is this going to be about giant ticks? And it was, which I thought would be the scariest thing. But as the movie continued, I realized I think in this case, volume of regular ticks would have been scarier to me than the size of the ticks. Like if there had been, 100 little ticks on somebody, that's scary to me than like one giant tick. But that's just my personal preference because it seems more real to me, I guess.
Yeah, I hear you, but like these ticks are nasty. So I'm gonna just say I was scared of these ticks, but she has it on the back of her sweater or whatever, and he's trying to get it off the back of her shirt. Like that was really it to me. It had that grossness factor and that icky factor. When it's like inside Clint Howard, that was gross. I loved it. Like I like that kind of stuff. I see what you're saying. Where like you're covered in ticks, that would be really gross. But I also appreciated that it wasn't like a humongous tick that was like some of those like 1950s movies where the ant is like the size of a house, like that would probably be kind of silly. Although I guess I like that too. I don't know.
You'll take anything. There's a line in this, somebody says, when in doubt, squish, and then she steps on the tick. And I thought that was great. And maybe that should be Dr. Pimple Popper's new slogan, but also it shouldn't because you shouldn't pop your own pimples. But I need to shout out to that show because I freaking love Dr. Pimple Popper.
Yeah, I mean that's got all the sounds and sort of like that's like a festival of looks and sounds that are just like ticks, like
And gore.
and gore. Yeah, it's great. And what kind of monster doesn't pop their own pimples? I know we're not supposed to, but like how can you not do it? Like there was this, I'm sure you've seen it. It's like somebody like tweeted like don't worry, like the little tiny pimple that no one could see, like I've now like made it into a huge throbbing like red thing. But like how can you not do it?
I know it's too fascinating. There was a night when I knew this about you, Meg, but then I wasn't sure, and I'm like, Meg, there's a YouTube person. Her name is Dr. Pimple Popper, and it's all just pimple pops. Like, do you want to watch them with me? And you said yes, and we bonded.
And it was like, oh, now I don't have to hide this. Well, like Luke thinks it's disgusting, but like if he has a pimple on his back or something, like I want to pop it, and he thinks there's something wrong with me. But I mean, come on.
No, I read this article about like because I have been fascinated with that and like I've loved her YouTube videos before the TLC show, but the TLC show is so great because they just edit to the best parts and it's very succinct. Anyway, I read this article that there's certain people like it stimulates parts of our brains and it's not everyone feels that. But if you like the head massager thing that you put on your head, if if you like that, you probably like pimple popping videos. Isn't that interesting? That there's a correlation there.
Wow. We're like a weird type of people. I wonder if they're like horror movie lovers too.
I don't know. Maybe we should do a study on this.
Yeah.
So, icky things exist in nature, and the horror is real. Like that's why this probably affects me more than, I mean, the supernatural, can affect me too, but there really are icky things out in the woods, like right now.
Well, yeah, and I'm not an outdoorsman. So I've admitted in this podcast I'm not outdoorsy or athletic, which I'm sure is a shock, but no, I'm scared of creatures. I'm scared of bugs. I don't like them. I don't like spiders. Like I don't like any of it. And so I like this movie. I think the ticks in it are creepy. I mean, it even gets to like this ridiculous level where like the tick where like it I don't know, Carlton's body becomes a tick. I don't know, but it was really gory and I kind of liked it. I don't know. I think that real life gore, like I still think about the time like I was forced to go fishing and then the hook got caught and way deep in the fish's throat and my friend's dad had to like really violently pull it out and like those are the things that I think stick in your brain because it's like real, you know?
Yeah, no, that's icky. I There's a scene where Melissa goes into the pond to help Kelly while she's fishing, and it reminds me of that show where they catch catfish with their bare hands. Like that is something I will never do. Have you seen that show? I mean, I think it's on TLC also, but like they're just in the water and then you just try to catch a fish with your bare hands.
No, I'm good.
But you know what else I'm good from? I wouldn't want Clint Howard falling on top of me under any circumstance, but especially not with a giant tick on his face and his foot in a bear trap.
Yeah, that's pretty extreme. That's what always stuck in my head. Like I would think about that tick like in him, like they show it like under his skin or whatever. And of course, like they don't have the biggest budget. I think it was a $1 million budget. So, it's maybe not perfect, but I don't know. I think I was effective. I was like, "Ooh, it had my attention."
There also is this plot of the marijuana growers. And I mean, nothing good ever comes about from like stumbling across somebody's marijuana plants, stash. Because like people get in trouble for that. That was a plot line in Bates Motel too. But it reminded me, there was when I used to watch People's Court every day after school. Did you used to watch that with Judge Wapner?
Of course.
And there was this episode where this woman, like the landlord, she was an old lady, she found her tenant's marijuana plant, so she threw it in the fire and like sat in her rocker to watch it burn, and she got so high she fell off her rocker and like broke her arm. So she was suing the tenants because they were growing the marijuana plant and she got so high that she broke her arm. But Judge Wapner ruled in their favor. He's like, you shouldn't have burned the marijuana plant.
Well, he's right. She took their property, whether it's legal or not, and she burned it. That's really cute, actually. That's like a cute story. If she hadn't broken her arm, like she probably would have said like, "Wow, I had a really nice afternoon."
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Um, Also, the other part of this movie that they're trying to do like a nice moral story. They really are learning to cope with their issues through this experience. So there's that silver lining. I mean, not that we want to go through getting attacked by giant ticks in order to come out on the other end, but they actually took those backstories and had a through line of like helping them learn to, be better people or overcome.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said before, I appreciate that it wasn't just like a group of oversexed teenagers like straight out of some like Friday the 13th sequel that are just like, "Oh, we're here to party," and they're all just kind of flat characters and you can't really tell like them apart. I felt like there was actually a little bit more diversity than you might expect. And I don't know. I think there are reasons that this movie stuck in my mind from um, that age. So anyway, I would defend this movie. I know a movie called Ticks sounds like it's a disaster and sounds like you shouldn't watch it, but I think I also realized I really like creature movies and like bug movies because I don't like them, you know? I
Yeah.
don't like the creatures.
Speaking of that, there's that movie. I think we've talked about it before, but it's just called Bug, right? With Michael Shannon and Ashley Judd.
Yeah.
And that's like more perhaps psychological, but again, it gets at that thing. It's like, ooh, it's some real horror that could exist and be icky. Ooh, okay, let's rank ticks on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 being you hated it, 10 being you think it's a perfect movie. What's the scale?
I mean, you can't just have a basic tick, a basic bitch tick.
A BBT?
Yeah. Um, I feel like it needs to be related to like Carlton.
How about like, yeah, just his face. What's his name? Panic?
Panic. He's such a bad boy.
Okay. Panic faces. How many do you give ticks?
I'm gonna give ticks 7.5 because there's actually actors in it you've seen before, which is always nice. It's not going to reinvent any sort of genre or anything like that, but I enjoyed it. It held my interest. There have been some movies recently that we watched where I was just like kind of wanting to get on my phone and stuff. But like this movie I was actually watching, and when I saw that it was on Amazon Prime, I like actually got excited about it, which meant that I actually must have liked it and had good memories. So I get 7.5 ticks. Or
But it,
no, Carlton faces.
I'm giving it a 6. I think like you said, you touched on all the good parts. I don't know, in my opinion, I feel like volume of ticks would have been scarier to me personally than size, but whatever. It's scary either way. It's gross either way. And I liked the diverse backgrounds and storytelling and moral of the tale that they actually ended up telling. So, good job, ticks.
I told Luke, he's like, "What are you doing?" He had texted me, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm watching a movie about killer ticks starring Seth Green and Carlton." And he's like, "Oh wow, okay."
This is your life. And there's a pile of books, Meg. The pile of books came for you. I assume those are books.
Yep, he just brought in a big pile of books for me to sell. So if you guys ever want a signed copy of any of my novels, I would love to do that for Horror Rewind fans. So just email our horror rewind podcast at gmail.com. Let us know if you want any signed books of my books, and then soon it'll be our books that we can sign for you too.
Yes, so that is something to look forward to. Well, we hope this summer that you are not getting any ticks in any sort of way or place or size because that's disgusting. But we're hoping that you're having a good summer thus far.
I mean, you should go outside a little bit. I mean, take a break. Take a break from watching the horror movies. We try to do that. We sat outside by the fire last night. That was nice.
And you know what our friend Nate has is he's got a projector. He can project horror movies onto his garage door. And so you can be outside and watch a horror movie. So this is and have the fire pit. They have the fire pit right there too. So that's like the best of all worlds, Meg.
We should do that. I want a projector. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah. I sent Meg this product. It's a projector that projects onto your ceiling so you can lay in bed and watch movies. You never check your Instagram, but it's okay.
I went and checked like my Instagram messages and I had like a million of them and most of them were from you and I was like, oops.
Help me, I'm being held I'm
Yeah,
being
yeah.
kidnapped and you're like, "Well, sorry bitch, bye."
It says 12 weeks ago.
Wonder why you haven't heard from me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Nate shout out like that's brilliant. The projector onto your garage door. Yeah.
I want to do that. That's a really good idea.
So until next time, we'll see you in the horror section.